Georgia head coach Kirby had one major worry, one major concern that he voiced to the media over and over and over again during spring practice. He echoed it again during fall camp just a few weeks ago. He was concerned about the youth of his roster, concerned about the inexperience that this Georgia Bulldog football team has to deal with, right? A lot of new guys, a lot of young players out there playing. And that showed more than ever this season against Alabama on Saturday night. It showed against the Crimson Tide how youthful this Georgia team could be. Now, there are older players. Gunnar Stockton's older. Zach Graybranch is older. Colby Young's older. C.J. Allen's older, right? Ja'Cory Thomas is older on Georgia's defense. Plenty of older players. But there are a ton of young guys, a lot of guys who are starting for the first time or playing serious snaps for the first time, getting into the mix. There are true freshmen playing for the Georgia Bulldogs. And I've got 5 things listed out about the Georgia Bulldogs and how the youth showed on Saturday night. I'm going to list them out, and we'll talk about each of those 5 things and maybe how Georgia can get better, maybe how they can attack this. But right now, the youth of Georgia's roster is showing. It really showed against the Crimson Tide. Hey, listen, before I get into that, quick message from our partner, Sales Hatch. The hardest part of sales today isn't closing. It's simply getting the first conversation started and landing that initial meeting. Sales Hatch does that for you and does so much more. I've got the barcode down there while I'm talking about them right now. Use that to go check out what they've got going on over at their website. Number 1, Nate Frazier's fumble. Nate Frazier's fumble was the first piece. I've got this in chronological order, and then one of them is just kind of something that was overarching. But Nate Frazier's fumble in the first half, in the second quarter, deep inside your Georgia's own territory, it was just bad. And Alabama capitalizes it by kicking a field goal to go up 17-7. They stretched their lead from 7 to 10 at that point. He's got 5 fumbles now in 14 games last season, 15 games, a few games in less than 20 games, he's got 5 fumbles. Hasn't lost all of them, but fumbled 3 times last season, and now has fumbled twice this year, losing both of those fumbles. Fumbled against Austin Peay, and now has fumbled against Alabama. Look, Nate Frazier was the clear RB1 heading into the season. There were a lot of people really excited about what Frazier could do. And I was one of those people. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post welcoming you in if you haven't felt welcomed in quite yet. I was one of the people who thought that Frazier was going to take a step forward and become a better back this year, be Georgia's lead back. Now, I was also one of the people saying, pump the brakes on this is the next Sony Michel, DeAndre Swift, or whichever Georgia running back you were comparing him to, that people that were comparing to. I was saying, pump the brakes. He's not that good. Okay? I need to see more if I'm going to proclaim that Nate Frazier is going to be that impactful. But I did think he was going to lead a committee-style running back room. And that was the case throughout the first weeks. He was the leading rusher for Georgia heading into this game. Had a huge run in overtime against Tennessee. But it's year 2 for Frazier. The fumbles are still an issue. To me, he's dancing around a lot. I'm going to say this probably 2 or 3 times during this video. I watch a lot of football. I'm not a coach. I didn't play for a very long time in my youth, but I did play. All I do is watch football. This is what I do. This is why I have this job, and I get to talk to you about it. He dances too much. He doesn't hit the hole quick enough, and he dances too much. And he doesn't have breakaway speed. Has not displayed to me what you would want in a lead running back, in a workhorse-style running back. I'm not saying that Chauncey Bowens is that, but Chauncey Bowens certainly took advantage of his opportunity after Nate Frazier's fumble and ran for almost 10 yards per carry, over 100 yards and a touchdown, and he looked really good, and he did not look hesitant, and he did not fumble the ball, and that is going to matter. I don't think Nate Frazier's opportunities will disappear, but it's got to get better. The second piece of youth, Talon Taylor's drop pass, right? There's 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Georgia could have went up 27 or 28 to 24 with that touchdown. Georgia doesn't score. Great ball from Gunnar Stockton. It was in stride. All he had to do was grab it, and he's waltzing into the end zone. true freshman wide receiver who's gotten limited opportunities this coming season. We thought that he was going to get some opportunities because he was talented, and he's clearly the best wide receiver that Georgia brought in so far from the 2025 recruiting class. A lot of speed, some good route running ability. Drops the ball. Literally drops the ball in his opportunity. Obviously, drops were a huge issue for this Georgia team a year ago when they led Power 4 and I believe the entire country in drop passes last season. I don't think they're going to lead that this season, and that's been an issue that hasn't been as big. But I mean, this is a problem. It's a problem. I don't think that this will keep Talon Taylor completely off the field, but that was another piece where it says freshman just wasn't ready for the big moment, or he would have caught the ball, right? So that was an issue. Another one, and this is probably the biggest issue, I would say, because this is on both the players and the coaches, right? Talon Taylor dropping that pass, that's not a thing that's on the coaches too. Frazier with the fumble is a little bit on the coaches, right? Because that needs to be something that's just drilled out of you. Fumbles happen, but they got to get that drilled out. You can't make the guy catch the pass. They work on catching passes. But this next piece that happened towards the end of the game, at the very end of the game, where Georgia's trying to get a stop and trying to get the ball back one last time, it looks like they're going to hold Alabama to 4th and inches. Ellis Robinson jumps on the pile, comes in late, head first, skyrockets into the pile, and they get an unnecessary roughness call. Automatic first down, drive continues. Game's pretty much over at that point, right? Ellis Robinson, why do I say this is the worst issue out of the three? Well, it's year 2 for Ellis Robinson. Played a little bit last year. He's a redshirt freshman. This guy is someone who is in the top 10, I think, in the all-time rankings for 24/7. He's one of the most highly touted prospects coming out of high school. Ellis Robinson, the 4th, that is. He was a big deal, and he's getting opportunities this season. That was a killer. That moment was killer for Georgia. It was bad, and it's a problem because you think that the coaches would have coached that out of you. I think, to me, that's both on the staff and on the player, because you have to have that in check. You have to have those types of moments in check. Ellis Robinson already kind of losing some time to DeMello Jones in that game. He does something like that, I would imagine he's punished in some sort of way. And look, he hasn't been perfect to hit the beginning of his tenure as one of the starting corners for Georgia. But we see that they tend to struggle at the beginning and then get better as time goes on. Kamari Lassiter, Dalen Everett, Keely Ringo. Just saying. Still hold out hope for Ellis. Number 4, this was the last, now I'm blanking. This was before the Ellis Robinson thing in chronological order, but the 4th thing that I want to talk about, and to me this is the least egregious moment out of all of them, the 4th and 1 call towards the end of the game in the 4th quarter, hurry up offense, Georgia decides to go for it, Kirby Smart decides to go for it, and they run kind of a zone option read with Cash Jones and Gunnar Stockton. Gunnar hands the ball off to Cash Jones. Cash is trying to bounce and get inside the edge because Juan Gaston, the true freshman offensive lineman who's played guard and tackle, who's playing tackle on that play. This is the part where I wonder, hey man, I'm not a football expert, but I'm pretty sure if you're Juan, you have to seal that edge because there is another safety or linebacker coming down and he was trying to chip and then go after that guy, but he doesn't seal the edge first and then goes to get him, and it's too late. The backer is coming in, and Cash Jones can't quite get to the line to gain yet. So that was a little mistake that I think if you go back in the film room, maybe Kirby says that's not Juan's fault. Maybe he was doing his job. But to me, when I go back and watch it, it looks like he could have sealed that off. That's just me. True freshman playing offensive lineman. Georgia's got multiple true freshmen playing. Dontrell Glover's out there in the mix. Juan Gaston starting games. You've seen Daniel Calhoun rotate in. Jazier Jackson, you've seen him rotate in. Bo Hewley, guys that really just haven't playing on this offensive line. You see a little probable mistake right there. And then the last thing, something I talked about, but I'm going to hit on very quickly. I talked about it in my most previous video yesterday. The pass rush. They just don't have guys. Quintavious Johnson hasn't played a lot. On Mendoza, brand new, hasn't played a lot either. Chris Jones hasn't played a lot. Pass rushers that they have. They've got Chris Cole as kind of a hybrid edge rusher. He hasn't played too much year two. Joseph Jonah-Joni on the defensive line hasn't played a lot. Elijah Griffin, second leading tackle in the defensive line, he's a true freshman. There's a lot of inexperience in this front, and I think you're seeing it by a lack of pressure on the quarterback. Doing really well in run stop, but not getting to the quarterback at even a moderate level, I would say. So the youth of Georgia's team, Kirby Smart's biggest concern, bit them in the ass on Saturday night. It's putting it nicely. Thanks for watching.